The Epic of Gildamesh has been known for the longest time as a figment of mythology. What happens when all we know turns out to be a facade? What happens when we all know as a story for children becomes a reality and points to an ancient history of mankind? While conducting research in Iraq in early 2003, a German archaeology team made one of the most important finds. What they believed to be the long-lost tomb of King Gildamesh was the unexpected find they uncovered down beneath the desert sand. This finding suggests that what we had believed to be a myth or a fable taught to children may not be as mythical as we always imagined. Since Gildamesh, the king of Uruk, was described as a 17-foot-tall giant, various historians seem to have diverse theories and views on his reality, coupled with the fact that his father was believed to have been the priest king Lugalbanda and his mother, the goddess Nisan. According to written documents discovered, Gildamesh was a demigod and was said to have lived an incredibly long life. Therefore, for these reasons, his story was generally accepted as simply a figment of myth and folklore. That is, until the expedition led by Georg Fassbinder, an archaeologist with the Bavarian Administration of Historical Monuments in Munich, claimed to have found the Gildamesh lost ancient metropolis. With the use of contemporary technology, they dug down into the ground and discovered a complete city that was constructed in the same way as the city of Uruk, which Gildamesh was said to have ruled. Fassbinder and his team of archaeologists hypothesized that it was Venice in the desert. A very intricate network of canals was reportedly found, and it was clear that these canal networks had flooding issues, according to Fassbinder. Its destruction, along with that of several homes, suggests a highly established system formerly existed in this area. The team discovered what they think to be the tomb of Gildamesh, measuring 130 by 130 feet and right in the center of the lost city of Uruk after scanning the region around using ground-penetrating radar. It is thought that the tomb is older than 4,000 years. Blocks of limestone indicate that only a culture with advanced technology could have constructed them. Additionally, the land around this ancient city seems to be a burial ground. We discovered the remains of such a structure in the middle of the former Euphrates River just outside the city, which could be interpreted as a burial, Mr. Fassbinder said. Gildamesh is said to have been buried under the Euphrates River in a tomb that was reportedly built when the waters split after his passing in the epic, which is preserved in the collection of inscribed clay tablets. Despite all this new information, Fassbinder still stated, "I don't want to say that it was King Gilgamesh's grave, but it looks very similar to that described in the epic." What do you suppose Fassbinder said to elicit this response from him? What would he have been attempting to convey to us? Was it merely a meaningless comment, or could there have been something more behind it? It is impossible not to think about this. Simply put, this was a stunning discovery, possibly the missing link in the story of how humanity began. Archaeologists were certain that this would alter everything we previously held to be true, including our lost past and other things. Shockingly, the unthinkable happened. Just a few weeks after this discovery was made, the United States invaded Iraq, forcing Fassbinder and his team of archaeologists to flee the country along with an unresolved mystery left behind. This probes a lot of theories, like why did the US attack Iraq at the time they did? The story doesn't end there, though. In 1849, an English historian and archaeologist named Austin Henry Layard made a startling find in the northern Iraqi remains of Ashurbanipal's library, which was built for the Assyrian king in the 7th century BC. He discovered an antique piece of clay here that was written in letters he was unable to decipher. Additional digging uncovered 15,000 shards of such tablets, all of which were covered with enigmatic text. Since the tablet could not be read, they were taken to the British Museum where researchers worked on their interpretation for many years, seeking parallels with other ancient languages up until the 1870s, when a man by the name of George Smith made a significant advancement. Despite his lack of education, he developed an interest in news reports from Iraq about cryptic artifacts. Smith started going to the British Museum in his free time to try to learn about these historical accounts because of his intense curiosity. Smith steadily started studying ancient languages himself during his time in the museum, and by 1866, a member of the staff had noticed this peculiar young guy and asked if he wanted to be a translator. After getting his approval, Smith spent years working on these tablets before he could comprehend the nature of the prehistoric flood. The deluge that killed everyone, save for one man and his family, was described on the tablet. The Society for Biblical Archaeology received these results in 1872. The academicians in attendance said that this was proof of the biblical Noah account. The translation by Smith will add to the body of historical evidence supporting the epic of Gilgamesh's legendary narrative, which goes well beyond the flood. The complete Gilgamesh epic chronicles the story of legendary Mesopotamian king Gilgamesh. Modern-day Iraq was controlled by King Gildamesh. According to legend, the gods wanted to punish him for being a tyrant, so they made a rival named Enkidu to do so. When they clashed, neither was stronger than the other, so they ended up becoming friends. According to the Epic of Gildamesh, when his friend Enkidu died, a sad Gildamesh made it his life mission to find the secret of eternal life. Given that Gildamesh was unsurpassed in all things and possessed vast intelligence, imagine what hidden mysteries and earth-shattering discoveries archaeologists would have discovered in 2003 if they had been able to uncover and examine the inside of his tomb. Was Gildamesh indeed a gigantic being? What proofs of his enlightenment about everything were interred with him? Would they have discovered these secrets effectively if the German archaeologists had not been stopped? As everyone is aware, those secrets are the kind that everyone in the world would do virtually everything to obtain. This is why the question of why the US invaded Iraq had been up for discussion for the past 20 years, a nation unconnected to the war on terror attacks. It has now been established that the US government's claims that Saddam Hussein, the leader of Iraq, was concealing weapons of mass destruction were false. According to some conspiracies, the US merely desired total control over Iraqi's oil. But one has to wonder, was there another explanation? Was it a coincidence that the invasion took place soon after the Gildamesh tomb and all the secrets it contains were discovered? This in light of the fact that US troops invaded the nation and established a camp near the location. They also sent out scientists and reporters, including BBC reporters who had been assigned to cover the results. According to eyewitness testimony, the US military men were allegedly excavating the earth and taking things from the scene. Does this suggest the conspiracy hypothesis, if it were to be proven, are true? Given that they know the secrets, might the US military have removed items from the tomb of Gildamesh? The artifacts that were removed, what happened to them? The narrative doesn't end there. Once the US forces overran Baghdad, they abandoned the museum, which contains relics from throughout the evolution of humanity unattended. Despite the delegation of historians and scientists' repeated warnings before the invasion start, as the days passed, things grew worse. According to numerous eyewitnesses, U.S. military personnel broke into the museum before the robbers stormed in, carried treasures out of vaults, and loaded them into trucks before they left. Could it be real? What did they take away? Where did they transport it to? The U.S. deployed a team of experts, including the FBI and CIA, to investigate in response to the outcry from the international community. This team would be headed by Colonel Matthew Bogdanis. When this team arrived, they found the site severely damaged. The strewn uniforms in the courtyard suggested that the location may have served as a battlefield for both U.S. and Iraqi soldiers. It makes you question, why? Why did the Iraqis, who were aware of how significant this location was to them, decided to battle in such a revered location? As they delved further into the museum's underground, they discovered that someone had already arrived. Items were definitely stolen, while the empty boxes and phony relics that had been put there to deter thieves were untouched. This was when it became clear that Bogdanos and his team, that these people knew what they were looking for and exactly where to look. Surprisingly enough, these thieves left behind the most valuable artifacts, including thousands of pieces of silver and gold. Nowadays, robbers break into valuable locations to take valuable items. Why didn't the burglars steal the priceless items if they had broken into the museum? What exactly were they looking for if they knew what they were after? In the 1920s, a weird rumor began to spread about the discovery of advanced ancient technology in the country. According to this hoax, Saddam Hussein, the former president of Iraq, possessed a portal to an extraterrestrial world. These stories about Iraq and its interactions with extraterrestrial beings are mentioned in ancient Sumerian writings, so they may seem far-fetched. The conclusion from this theory is that it is less unlikely that these advanced alien technologies still exist now. The theory that Iraq might possess an old Stargate was considered plausible by governments worldwide, prompting them to go on a hunting expedition to Iraq. Since no Stargate was officially discovered, the idea slowly faded from popular view. Although there had been no definitive proof that the king of Gildamesh was a real person, all that is written about him is found in the 4,000-year-old Sumerian scripts. In the subsequent years, not much news concerning the king of Uruk's rule has surfaced, and this is probably because of the Iraq War. According to these theories, the U.S. invasion of Iraq seems suspicious as it put an infinite hold on what might have been a shocking discovery of human history. Did King Gildamesh ever exist, or is he a myth? Which one of these conspiracy theories is true? Would the archaeologists have found his anomaly if they continued with their excavation? Could it be possible that ancient Iran had access to alien technology? What are your thoughts? Tell us in the comments below.